Hello, hi there, welcome to my kitchen. I'm Michael Williams, your island chef. On today's episode, we're gonna be making some epic sandwiches. We're gonna start off with the ultimate breakfast sandwich. From there, we're gonna move on to a roasted chicken wrap with Tandoori Slaw. And then finally, we'll be making a grilled veg on House Foccacia. Delicious, tasty sandwiches, all of that on today's episode coming up. All right, so before we get into our ultimate breakfast sandwich, I want to get a focaccia dough mixed up. Really, really simple, so easy. You guys are gonna be making your own focaccia after this. So, we're gonna start off with a little bit of warm water. It's gotta be warm water. So we want the water to be warm, not hot, but warm, so that we can activate the yeast. Now we need a cup plus just a little bit. That's probably good, like a couple tablespoons. From there, we're gonna add in our instant yeast, okay? I should have checked the water, but yeah, it's perfect. So that's kind of, tepid water. You can, have your finger in there and it won't hurt. We've got 1.5 teaspoons or half a tablespoon of salt. We've got a teaspoon of thyme. And from there, actually, you know what I need? Some honey or sugar, honey or sugar. We need some food for our yeast. So I'm gonna add in just like a heaping teaspoon's worth of honey. So once again, half a tablespoon or a heaping teaspoon or 1.5 teaspoons. If you want to get really precise, that should be good there. So we've got in here our warm water, we've got our yeast, we've got some salt, we've got some honey, which is going to feed the yeast. We've got our thyme, which will add some nice flavor. Now, the next step is to get some oil in here. And then we're going to add in just a couple tablespoons. Want that oil to be in the dough. We're going to use quite a bit of oil later as well when we cook the dough. But now what we want to do is we want to whisk some flour into this, get everything mixed up so that the oil is evenly distributed. Okay, so I'm going to add in about a quarter or a third of our flour, and I'm going to whisk it, as I mentioned, so that we can get that oil kind of evenly distributed. And we've got a nice little slurry here now. So we'll drop the whisk, move on to either a spoon or a spatula, and now we're just going to mix this up until it's nice and it's going to be a wet dough. Mix it up until it's completely incorporated, and then we'll be resting time for this dough. And it's actually going to, there's no kneading necessary, which is one of the beautiful things about this dough. You don't need to knead it, it kneads itself as it sits for a couple of hours and does its initial proof. So now that it's mixed, a little bit of extra oil around the bowl so that we can prevent it from sticking. And we'll just kind of go like this. Perfect. So this is now going to rise for about 1.5 hours. It's going to like triple in volume, and we'll know it's finished when it kind of domes up and then just flattens out on the top of the dome. So the top of that dome will kind of be a little bit flat, then we'll know it's perfect, about 1.5 hours. So I've got a batch that I made up already. So we're just gonna cover this up, put it in a warm place, let it have its 1.5 hours. And then we're gonna take our dough that's already been proofed. I put it into the fridge just to chill it a little bit. It works really nice to kind of shape it when it's cold. And in fact, at this stage, you could just leave it in the fridge for up to 10 days and make your fresh focaccia or pizza dough. This is also pizza dough, whenever you want. So here's what it looks like. Okay, so let's liberally coat this dish with some beautiful extra virgin olive oil, one of the key ingredients in focaccia. Okay, and then we're gonna turn our dough out into the dish, just like that. We're gonna flatten it out, and you don't need to be gentle here. Poke and prod. You know, getting your fingers into it really helps stretch it out. And this is now ready to rest and proof a little bit more. We're gonna let it kind of rise up again, and then we'll bake it off 435 degrees for about between 20 and 25 minutes. So we'll set this also aside in a warm place, get our oven fired up so it'll be ready to go in the oven, 435. And now let's get cracking on our egg sandwich. I'm gonna get some bacon going here, and we're gonna start our bacon in a cold pan. So the reason we put the bacon into a cold pan is to help render some of the fat out of it. And so when that fat renders out, we will end up with nice crispy bacon. All right, this is quite, let's go. This is, you know, jam cafe worthy beauty. Let's get some mayo on here. And then what we're gonna do, add some of this gunpowder Caribbean hot sauce. It's got a massive kick, which I love. Let's grab ourselves a tomato, an avocado, and red onion. Now, I've mentioned before, you want to make sure you get that nice dark green outside layer of the avocado, because that's where the most percentage, the highest percentage of vitamins and minerals in the avocado live. Did you know that a bread knife is fantastic for cutting tomato? Love bread knife for cutting tomato and for cutting cheese for that matter. Speaking of which, we need some cheese. But first we'll cut a couple slices of red onion as well. Nice and thin. Love raw red onion on sandwiches. Okay, so bacon is ready for a flip. So we're gonna turn it like so. By the way, I don't think I'm gonna put 4 pieces of bacon on my sandwich, but I did cook some extra just in case, because I like to, you know, heat bacon. Now we've also got quite a bit of fat that's rendered. We're gonna use some of that to cook our eggs with. So by pouring out some of that rendered fat, we're gonna be able to crisp our eggs up a little bit better. Now, we're ready to crack our eggs right into that bacon fat. And what I'm gonna do here, because we've got a nice cast iron pan, we've got enough residual heat that I can just turn the heat off, and that's gonna cook beautifully. A little bit of smoked cheddar. That's gonna go onto our eggs, which is gonna melt nicely. And this, oh, my mouth is watering. I'm excited. I can hardly wait to dig into this. Just gonna put some nice coarse fleur de sel on there. And I'm actually going to crack some fresh pepper. And we'll separate these. See how great cast iron works for eggs? And I like runny yolk on my eggs, on my egg sandwiches. So once they're flipped, just another 30 seconds or so, and we'll be ready to get those on the sandwich. Let's put our eggs on there. Let's grab some bacon. Put that on there. Oh my goodness. I'm just gonna try and make sure I know where the eggs are, because you know what, like this sandwich is just too big to eat like that. So I'm gonna cut it in half with my bread knife. There we have it. That is money. I have to do this right now. And you know what? There's no two ways about it. This is one messy sandwich, but that's what it's all about. Oh boy. All right, so our oven's up to temperature. Our focaccia here has proofed. So let's get it ready to go in the oven. I'm gonna cut some red onion here nice and thin. And we're going to sprinkle that on top of our focaccia. And you can put all kinds of stuff on top, you know, bits of garlic, the red onion here, peppers, zucchini, sun-dried tomatoes. There's lots of options to customize your focaccia. Fleur de sel is a must. That's the nice flakes of sea salt, fresh cracked pepper, delicious, and a little bit of garlic powder. Fresh garlic is good too, of course, really good, but I love garlic powder in this application. And finally, we're gonna drizzle some extra olive oil on top, a little bit of extra virgin olive oil. That's not extra virgin, it's just extra virgin olive oil. Get it? Okay, and then just push everything into the dough, make sure those onions are nice and set, and this can hit the oven. Okay, so we're gonna pop that into 435-degree oven for about 20 to 25 minutes. All right, so we got a timer there. Set it for 20 minutes. I like to just check it after 20 and see if it needs a little bit longer. We're looking for a nice golden brown. Keep it soft though, you don't wanna overcook it. So we'll pop that out of the oven when necessary. In the meantime, we're gonna make up some slaw to go with our roast chicken wrap. So I'm just going to cut a chunk of cabbage off. And I'm going to go like this. And then we're gonna slice her up. And what we'll do here, slice these on a nice sharp 45. There we go, looking beauty. So we're ready to mix this up now. Grab ourselves a mixing bowl. Fantastic. So let's mix up some slaw now. We've got mayo. We've got Salt Spring Island tandoori chutney. I'm not going to be shy on that. One other ingredient I want to get in there is some fresh lime juice. Squeeze that in. This is not a very juicy lime. There we go, that should do the trick, just a taste. Okay, we'll mix and mix and mix. Oh boy. That's fantastic. Okay, so this is how it goes down, folks. Lay your cheese. We want to work from the bottom half here. Okay, and we want to leave some free space on the edges. So cheese it up all the way up to, kind of on the bottom half. Leave some space on the edge. Get your chicken nice and thinly sliced, like so. And then slaw. And the final touch, which adds a really nice color contrast to some of these beautiful red cabbage sprouts. Okay, so now we're gonna fold those edges. I like to crease it right there, so it holds its place. Roll it over, and then it's really important to just very gently but firmly tuck it and just keep working it so that it's nice and symmetrical. And then we're gonna keep going. I'm applying that pressure. Notice how I'm using all my fingers. And once we get there, then we just push it down, and that's ready to hit the pan. Okay, so we've got a nice warm pan here. Get some butter in the pan. And then we just wanna fry this on kind of 4 sides, nicely brown it. Add some extra flavor to the wrap, gives it a nice crunch. That'll be beauty. And side 2. And side 3, looking beautiful, almost there. And then on to the final side. And you know what's happening right now is that beautiful raclette cheese is melted. The chicken's warming up just a little bit, but not so much that it gets into the slaw. We want that slaw to stay, you know, relatively room temp. That's all there is to it. Let's plate this up. So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna cut this on an angle, like so. And since we got it, I always like to bump up my veggie intake, some extra slaw, and then just to finish it off right, some more of those sprouts. How's that? Here it is. Roast chicken wrap, raclette cheese, tandoori slaw. Oh boy, that looks fantastic. There is that beautiful focaccia. Let that cool down. We'll be ready to slice into it soon. And in the meantime, we're gonna make up some veggies. Actually, I turned that oven off, but we need it on. I'm gonna turn it on broil. Get myself a baking sheet. Won't use the silicone paper. And we're going to slice some yams and some zucchini. We're gonna slice them on the mandolin. All right, so on the mandolin, we're gonna slice our yams and our zucchini. Just make sure we're at a good thickness, yes. And you know, always exercise extreme caution with the mandolin. It can be a very dangerous tool. And you know, I don't use the guard a lot of the time when I'm using it, but you really should. So we're gonna lay out our yams here. And just take note here what I'm doing. I'm kind of overlapping them a little bit, right? Because they're gonna shrink when they cook. So we want to overlap them a little bit. Actually, we're gonna go this way because we got to get our zucchini on there too. So as they cook, they're gonna shrink a little bit. We're gonna brown them really nicely. That should be good there. So let's do up some zucchini now. You know what? Actually, I forgot to grease the tray underneath the yams, which that would have been a little bit of a disaster because they would have stuck and then I would have been sad and then you would have been like, what are you doing, Mike? So we're gonna go like that. Now that that side's greased, we can grease the other. That should be good. Just get enough to fill up the rest of that tray. Start there. Same thing with the zucchini. We're gonna overlap them because they're gonna shrink. Not too much, mind you. You know, just like kind of like a quarter or so. Fill this tray up nice and full. Great. So now we will brush the top with a little bit of oil as well. And then we'll season it. And then they're gonna go right into the oven, right under the broiler. We're gonna put that shelf right up on the top, put them on the top shelf, and we're gonna set the oven to broil so that top element is on. And we're really gonna roast them well, get some good color on them, some good caramelization. Maybe even burn them a little bit. It's gonna be beauty. Bingo. Actually, when you're broiling, you want to leave your oven open a crack because that lets some of the heat out and it keeps that top element on. We want that top element on so we can get a nice kind of browning action happening there. Now, I've got a hot frying pan ready to go. So we're just going to quickly cut up some red onion and red pepper. I like to roast these guys in the pan. So we're just going to quickly go like so. Okay. Hot pan, bit of oil. Turn on the fan. Cut up our peppers. So, gonna let those get nicely browned. And then we're gonna add some salt, some pepper, some garlic powder, and some balsamic vinegar to finish them off nicely. In the meantime, we can get ready to dress our focaccia. It's gonna be a little bit hot. Ideally, you're gonna wanna let it cool down a little bit more, but we'll make do. Depending on how big your bread knife is, you know, you may need to cut this in half to kind of make it a little bit easier to work with. But mine is just the right size for this loaf. Now this is a little bit tricky here. This is definitely, you know, takes some practice to get it just right. And again, this is easier cutting it horizontally like this if it's smaller. Okay, so we're just going to peel off our top, and then gonna go grab some hummus. Keep these moving, brown them nice and evenly. About halfway through, you might want to rotate your tray. I'm gonna hang that out just a little bit. It's almost done. All right, so I love my hummus, so I'm gonna put it on nice and thick. All right, grilled veggies, beautiful, done. Our sauteed peppers and onions, looking really nice. We're gonna add some salt to those. We're going to add some pepper to that, a little bit of garlic powder, and finish it off with some balsamic vinegar. Okay, so now, it's just a matter of sprinkling our veg on. You know what? There's not really quite enough there, so I'd probably do another run, maybe even a full tray of each. Let's just do half of this for now, and I'll build the other half later. Okay, we'll get our roasted yams on there. Oh boy, I love eating these yams even just like that. They're super tasty. And finally, our balsamic peppers and onions. My goodness, that smells fantastic. So, let's go ahead and just cut this off. We'll take about half of our top, put that on. Okay. Super tender focaccia. All those veggies. Cut it into pieces like this. Have some friends over. Serve it up right on the board, just like that. Oh, my goodness. One thing's missing. A little bit more green and some freshness to lighten things up. Can you picture that on your table with some friends at your house? I think you'd have some pretty happy people. That focaccia, so simple. I don't always do sandwiches like this, big, you know, thick, focaccia, delicious, amazing sandwiches. You know, not generally the way I roll, but every once in a while, you gotta do it, man. You gotta do the pizza, the pasta, the amazing sandwiches. Mix it in there. It's perfectly healthy, part of a great routine, just once in a while. So 3 amazing sandwiches we did today. That ultimate egg sandwich, breakfast sandwich. Man, that was delicious. The roast chicken with the Tandoori Slaw was fantastic. And then this grilled vegetable on house-made focaccia. Remember, you can make up that focaccia dough, mix it up. You don't need to knead it. It stays in the fridge until you're ready to bake it off. Fantastic. Love that dough. 3 fantastic recipes. You'll catch them all on countrygrocer.com. Thanks for being with us, and see you next time.
Country Grocer.